Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the analysis of Yoleno TV. I'm glad to be back with some interesting news. So there's been talk of the town about the probability of the UDA government increasing the presidential term limits. Through FAF MP YAKUB, there was a disclosure that the UDA fraternity have been planning on a way to extend the president's term limit, perhaps to bring in Ugandan's constitution in Kenya. The Kenya Kwanza government MPs are planning to revoke the constitution mandate for the two presidents' term limit to replace it with a capped year of 75 years. That is, the president can only run until he's 75 years old. That means if you're a president and you're 40 years, then you can run until you're 75 years old. Many people deemed it as a deliberate approach to rule out Raila Amolo Odinga from 2027 presidential election, to make sure that Kalonzo Musyoka or Mudavadi does not get a chance or a shot at the presidency again. And why am I thinking that this is the likely approach? Because what analysts believe is that William Samoei Ruto might run until the year 2042. That is, should the Kenya Kwanza government MPs succeed in this plan to have the presidential term limit scrapped off. So Fafi MP YAKUB disclosed that there has been closed-door meetings to draft a bill that is seeking to revoke the mandatory 2 terms presidential limit. And one of the proposals is to cap the age limit to 75 years. That is what YAKUB said. The intention, like I said, is to lock out any political bigwigs from ascending to power. And by that, the first person I'm referring to is to lock out Raila Amolo Odinga from contesting in 2027. So if I may go back to the history, before 1992, there was a repeal of Section 2A. You remember when during the second liberation, there was a repeal of 2A. And soon as that repeal was actualized, then the mandatory 2 presidential term limits was introduced. And back then, Moi was in power. So that's why you find that Moi assumed that since that was the time that enactment was done, then he would vie for presidency in 1992 and 1997. The challenge with this draft bill, should it be brought to the parliament, is that it must garner 2/3 of the majority in both houses. Now, that is the biggest hurdle should Kenya Kwanza think of introducing this bill in parliament, because currently we know that it is close to 50-50%. The majority and the minority are controlling almost 50% of the parliament house. That is to say that as the New One Kenya Alliance has 157 members in the National Assembly, whereas the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has 179. That is not 2/3 is not arrived at with that arrangement. So you find that the strength in parliament is almost 50-50. So the 2/3 is not achievable should this bill be brought in the House. Now, should the idea be brought to the public for referendum, again, the person that is likely to benefit from that move will be Raila Amolo Odinga, because that will mean that the president will have diverted from the goals or the manifestos or the promises that he made during the presidential campaigns to again allocating power to him, to making sure that he's the president for life. Article 142 of our constitution guarantees 2 terms for presidential term. So should this bill go through, then that would mean Ruto will vie for the presidency in 2027. Again, he will vie for presidency in 2032. then he will vie for presidency in 2037. Those are the 4 terms that William Samoei Ruto will rule. There were particular responses to the same. Azimio Kenya Alliance did not welcome the idea, and Junet Mohammed laughed off the idea, saying that the presidential term limit is cast in stone. That was the response that he gave, and this is what he had to say. Madness of Kenya Kwanza will come to an end very soon. They are talking about many things, but once their minds are settled, they will realize that they have work to do and stop this monkey business they've been taking the country through in the last 2 months. That is the response that Junet Mohammed said. And then Makueni Senator Dan Maanzo also weighed in on the matter and said he first of all dismissed the proposal, terming it as totally ridiculous and next to impossible. And he said that where will such an amendment pass through? He is just looking for cheap publicity. It will be a waste of time. That's Dan Maanzo. And then Ogunje MP Opiyo Wandayi also weighed in on the move and said that this bill will be met with stiff resistance from Kenyans, while Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna also said, let them bring it first, then we shall see what next. We will not waste time on roadside or funeral declarations. That's a move, or those are some of the responses that were given. Those are some of the responses that Azimio Kenya Alliance MPs and senators weighed in and gave us their own responses. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly subscribe to our channel if you've not subscribed before. Now, let it be known that William Samoei Ruto made a huge promise that he was going to deliver on the manifesto that he gave to the people of the Republic of Kenya. Remember, until now, none of the manifesto promises has been achieved. We have not seen any meaningful benefit that was promised to the people of the Republic of Kenya that have been actually achieved to date. So that's why we're finding that the Kenya Kwanza team are beginning to, they are sending a mixed signal to the Republic of Kenya. In fact, Kenyans are now losing hope with this regime, because instead of them enacting laws that will better, the lives of Kenyans, they are trying to enact laws that will make sure that they rule forever, so that unga will forever be 300, 400, and 500 shillings going forward. So that's not what people expected. So I think this is one of those big mistakes that the government is committing. They are committing a terrible mistake by making sure that those are the things that they deem as very important. Mind you, during campaigns there was talk of free education, but now you saw the CS for education saying that they will scrap off government funding on the universities. You also saw there was a talk of Hustlers Fund. But again, what you've seen is that people are required to save first before they benefit. So it's give me money so that I can give you back your money. That is what the government is trying to advocate for right now. So ladies and gentlemen, can you share what you think? Do you think this move by the Kenya Kwanza to want to increase it to term limit to a president for life, like the Museveni kind of rule, do you think that is what Kenyans wanted? And why was the 2 terms limit put? It was simply put because of because Moi was seen to be showing indications of ruling for life. That's why the presidential 2-term limits was brought, and that is protected by the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And that's perhaps the reason why Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta had to vacate office after ending his 2nd term. So ladies and gentlemen, kindly share your opinion below the comment section. And once again, I'd like to say thank you so much for supporting our channel to this level. And once again, I'd like to urge you, any viewers who subscribe, to please subscribe to this channel. Once again, I'd like to ask you to stay safe and be blessed until we meet again for our next analysis.